Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Manupeta Apeta Krityam Apaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Manitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Chayamudidayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptasta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Papanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tavevasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Pancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmaniti Lila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Sto Tarsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padmaniti Lila Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pada Asto Tarsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and to our exalted Upanuga Varga, all the Samu Vaishnavas Vaishnavis. So we left off at a verse where Mahaprabhu now is speaking to Jagai and Madhai. They have been delivered by the causeless mercy of the Lord, unlimited mercy. These two complete sinners have been delivered by the kindness of Nityananda Prabhu, understanding the internal motives of Mahaprabhu in this Kali Yuga, demonstrating the absolute limit of mercy. So the verse we left off with, we read it, but we haven't explored the purport. It's very important. So, Prabhu Bale Shunna Tora Dui Jana Satya Amitori Kori Lan Mochana Koti Janme Jata Ache Papa Tora Arajari Nara Karis Savadaya Mora. The Lord said, listen, both of you, I have indeed delivered you today. I take full responsibility for whatever sinful activities you have performed in your previous millions of lifetimes, provided you do not sin again. All right, we're going to read this purport. There's a lot to this statement, right? Mahaprabhu is saying this. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada explains, persons who are inclined towards the service of the Lord retire from material enjoyment and dedicate all their endeavors for the pleasure of Krishna. They then no longer hanker for accumulating piety or impiety in this material world. That means acting according to varnashram rules and regulations, according to caste and status, etc., or ignoring that for gross sense pleasure. Either way, they are detached from those considerations. The devotees then fully surrender themselves and enjoy spiritual happiness as they constantly engage in the service of the Lord. So it doesn't mean now that they don't have any guidelines as to what to do and what not to do, but then everything is directly in relationship with devotional service, with bhakti. Right? And sometimes bhakti seems to parallel very closely the rules of varnashram And sometimes it's detached from them. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. Bhakti only comes from bhakti and through association with those who are immersed in bhakti. Right? So the devotees then fully surrender themselves and enjoy spiritual happiness as they constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. What Krishna was telling Arjuna at the end of Bhagavad Gita, after having described all the preliminary stages, and all the different forms of bhakti that are somewhat mixed with karma and jnana, with duty. He says, ultimately, just give all of this up and surrender unto me. Sarva dharmam parijagya. Dharma means all your worldly duties, right? So the devotees then fully surrender themselves and enjoy spiritual happiness as they constantly engage in the service of the Lord. Since after becoming freed from material bondage, self-realized living entities offer whatever activities they perform for the service of the Lord, all their activities like bathing, eating, and sleeping are counted as service to Krishna and are therefore situated on the spiritual platform. That's when you genuinely have that purified mindset. And you're able to think like that. Oh, why am I resting? So that I can do my service more efficiently. Rest this body. It's not mine, it's Krishna's. Take medicine, rest it, eat properly, sleep properly. All of these things are because I want to engage nicely. At this time I'm in this body, this material body. This is my tool, right, for serving Krishna, my facility. So I'm taking care of it. So eating, sleeping, whatever, bathing, all of that. Then the conditioned soul's sinful activities accumulate over millions of lifetimes are at once removed. All sins and resultant sufferings are thus destroyed by the mercy of the Lord. Other than influencing the weak living entities to become averse to Hari, the covering and throwing potencies of Maya cannot exhibit any influence on the devotees. The fully surrendered, self-realized devotees are soon nourished on the lap of liberation, and they do not indulge in any form of pious or sinful activities. The declaration of Krishna in the Sarvadharma Parijagya verse, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me, I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear, is the destroyer of the living entity's miseries. And so also he says in the verse, I'm taking full responsibility for all the sinful activities you performed. Right? This is the Lord stating this, and actually this is what genuine guru also does. What does that mean? That means that instead of having to live a life controlled by your prarabdha karma, the things that you were meant to experience in this lifetime, the happiness and distress, then you're freed from that and you can engage happily in devotion. But he also says that you have the responsibility, we have the responsibility, to go forth and sin no more. Right? Now, sometimes people say, because Srila Prabhupada said this sometimes out of humility and to encourage his disciples, that the spiritual master has to suffer the results of the sinful activities of his disciples if they continue on sinning. But Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj explained that actually a pure devotee is like Krishna. It's like the sun. Nothing can contaminate the sun. The sun burns up everything. And whatever a disciple is doing or not doing, it can't affect a self-realized soul. However, self-realized souls also manifest sometimes sickness pastimes. Krishna will put them in different conditions. For what purpose? One purpose is to teach us, like Srila Prabhupada in his last year manifested very powerful illness pastimes, and different acharyas have done that, right? But they've also shown that they can be completely free from the effects of that illness. They're internally deeply absorbed and not controlled by the sickness of the body in any way. Remember the story of Narottam Das in his latter days, lying as if or practically paralyzed due to illness pastimes. But when his disciples said that the smartas in Keturi are saying this is the result of sinful activity of a non-Brahmana giving initiation and diksha to Brahmins, that's why he's suffering. How do we answer this? Narottam said, what? And he immediately got up off the bed and went wandering through the city, chanting loudly, leading kirtan, to show that whatever he was experiencing was not due to what they were claiming. This is to teach us, like Srila Prabhupada said, in this most powerful way, humble way. Do not think that this will not happen to you. Because our inclination would be that, if we practice bhakti, we're freed from the stringent laws of birth and death, sickness, illness, and we can enjoy. Our motivation will be wrong, right? So everybody is going to get ill and sick. But that in itself has its own purpose as well, because then you realize, I have nothing in this world to enjoy, nothing I can enjoy. I have to surrender. That's also the blessing of old age, that even though the mind, the powerful, almost all-powerful mind, is constantly urging us on to do things different from devotion, right? Enjoy this, enjoy that, go here, go there, don't do your seva, do this instead. The mind is constantly attacking us. And in youth, we oftentimes surrender to that mind. But when you become old, the mind is still saying these things. But you realize, what am I going to enjoy? How could I enjoy? Even if you gave me, $1 billion, really, what could I enjoy at this point? We could try, but it wouldn't be very much. And also lingering, looming over at any moment is that time when we have to leave this body. And do we want to leave this body in a mood of striving still to squeeze out that last drop of mundane material happiness? Or do we want to go deeply into spiritual consciousness, right? Deeply into a connection with the Lord, right? So he's saying in his purport, Saraswati Prabhupada, the energy of Maya, she throws us into this material world and then covers us, right? And then we, in that covered condition, we perform so many sinful activities and pious activities, both of which produce karmic result, sukriti and dushkriti, karma. But both are binding. Chains made of gold or chains made of iron, they're both chains, right? So Mahaprabhu is saying, now I've released you from all of that. Now you're immersed in the joy of devotion. Do only that and be happy. Right? Extraordinary. Then he goes on to say, Tol don haramukke muni koriba ahar tora dehi hai beka mora avatar. I will eat through the mouths of you too, and I will incarnate in your bodies. What does that mean? Saraswati Prabhupada says, Narayana Parovidvan Yafyanam Pitamanaha Sahasnati tad dared asyam gatam anam na samshaya. Quote, these are two quotations from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. The Supreme Lord relishes through his lotus mouth the foods that pious people devoted to Hari eat. There's no doubt about it. And then Bhaktasya rasanagrena rasam ashnami padmaja. I will relish the taste from the tips of the devotees' tongues. This is an extraordinary conception. Most of us are acquainted with the idea that when we cook and then offer the Lord foodstuffs with love, that he will taste it, right? And by his touching and tasting, it becomes ardhanamrita. It becomes a special kind of nectar. It becomes transformed. It becomes transcendental prasad. That which the Christians are trying to understand through the practice of the Eucharist, it actually comes from this. They have a limited idea of what that means. When they say, we're eating the body of Christ and drinking his blood. I mean, that's kind of a strange way to understand it. But he goes even further and says that whatever the devotee eats, and whatever the devotee tastes, I'm also tasting at the time that they are tasting. This means that the devotee is so tadatmik, so united with the Lord in every single way. The Lord is also experiencing the happiness and pleasure of the devotee themselves. The only thing I can think about in this regard is the statements of Srimati Radhika in Prem Samput, where she's describing to Krishna, described as a heavenly damsel, how she and Krishna are never separated. And they always understand the moods, the thoughts, the feelings of the other. Even though it may appear that they're separated by distance or by mood, one may show man to the other, and it appears that they're not connected. She says, I always know what's in my beloved's heart, and he always knows what's in my heart. Right? And so the Lord, with his pure devotee, is complete connection. How? Because pure devotee, what are we? We're the Shakti of the Lord. And when we become fully immersed and engaged in pure devotional practice, beyond practice, actually, realization now, we're swimming in that same river of Ladini Shakti, Samvit Shakti. Samvit connects us. I am the Lord's, the Lord is mine. Makes us aware of our identity, our relationship, how we serve, what we do. And Ladini is the energy of the Lord that immerses both the Lord and the devotee in transcendental pleasure, united in pleasure. It's an extraordinary statement. Extraordinary how close we actually become with the Lord. So think about that. Sometimes we take our bhakti for granted. We consider it in an institutional sense. Well, I live in this temple, therefore I'm a devotee. But a real devotee is united in a very different way, not by physical location of the material body or even following institutional rules and regulations, but a deep, complete immersion based on love. Right? Everything I'm doing, as he mentioned earlier, bathing, eating, sleeping, every thought is done for the happiness of Krishna. That's a very high bar, but it's very helpful to meditate on it. That's why temple seva has so many advantages. I'm looking across at Tulsi, right? When you serve Tulsi, try to cultivate that mood. Tulsi is so dear to the Lord. I'm serving her, and in such a way that, trying to keep her healthy, strong, and we can offer her leaves and her manjaris, which are so pleasing to the Lord. I'm serving the deity. I'm bathing the deity. Right? What extraordinary opportunity. The Lord puts himself and his devotees at our disposal to serve them. And so we want to always try to cultivate the most favorable mood so that this opportunity we can take advantage of. This is what the Lord is telling Jagai and Madhai. I'm giving you this now. Take advantage of this. And now they're realizing it. Prabhuda Shuniya Vakya, Jagai Madhai, Vakya means, the words, right? Lord's words. Anande Murchitahai Padila Tatai. On hearing the Lord's words, Jagai and Madhai fell unconscious in ecstasy. The illusion of the two brahmanas was thus destroyed, and they merged in the ocean of ecstasy. Knowing this, Lord Vishwambar instructed them as follows. They merged in the ocean of ecstasy. Ananda Sagare. Moha Gela Dui Vipra. Moha means that illusion, right? Dui Vipra, these two brahmanas. Anande Sagare. Buji Agya Korilena Prabhu Vishwambare. The illusion, this Agya, destroyed. And so he instructs them as follows. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada says, despite taking birth in a pure Brahmana family, Jagai and Madhai gave up the prestige of Brahminical birth and took up the profession of rogues. Now, by the mercy of the Lord, they regained their lives. Since their foolish enjoying propensity was removed, they became conversant in Vedic literature, which deals with the three subjects of Sambandha, the soul's relationship with the Lord, Abhideya, the regulated activities for reviving that relationship, and Prayojana, the ultimate goal of life. After being established in genuine Gaudiya concepts and engaged in the service of the Lord, they became filled with spiritual ecstasy. Since Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath became their worshipable lords, their illusion was vanquished. This last reference, Madan Mohan, he is considered the predominating deity of Sambandha Tattva. Govinda of Abhideya and Gopinath, Prayojan. Right? Gopinath, the Lord of the Gopis, right? So, the illusion of the Brahmanas was thus destroyed, and they merged in an ocean of ecstasy. Knowing this, Lord Vishwambar instructed them as follows. Dui jane tuli laha amara badite, kirtana koriba dui janera sahite. Pick these two up and bring them to my house. Today we will perform kirtan with these two. To his own house, he's taking them now. And this was very rare. Not many people got to go to Mahaprabhu's house for kirtan. Brahmara durlaba aji edon hare diba, edon hare jagatera utam koriba. Today, I will award them that which is rare for even Lord Brahma. I will place them in the topmost position in this world. So they're going to go from the most disgraceful position to the topmost position in a moment. Purport. After forgiving the rogue's offenses, the causelessly merciful Gaurasundar awarded them the qualification to participate in hearing and chanting the glories of Lord Hari. That which we take for granted and even perform lethargically and even sometimes stubbornly and angrily, you know, this qualification to participate in hearing and chanting the glories of Lord Hari. Very, very rare, right? Even for Lord Brahma, this opportunity that we just neglect, out of whatever laziness, whatever reason we neglect it. And that doesn't mean, and that also means, how are we chanting? The other thing is sometimes we just chant, and inattentively, or sometimes we chant and to get away from doing anything else. I'm chanting now. Leave me alone. I'm going to Radhakund to chant. I'm not going to do any seva. I'm just going to chant Shuddhanam and get the blessings of Radharani. Don't bother me about Mat Seva, the mission of Mahaprabhu, the desire of my Guru, the warning of the Vaishnavas. I know what's best. I'm going to chant. And this way I will become successful in my life. I will become purified. I will become glorious. I will become whatever, a servant of Srimati Radhika. No. Mahaprabhu is saying, I will award them that which is rare. So, after forgiving the rogue's offenses, the causelessly merciful Gaur Sundar awarded them the qualification to participate in hearing and chanting the glories of Lord Hari. From the material point of view, the two were antisocial atheists. They were uplifted from extreme abomination and awarded the qualification to engage in the topmost service of Lord Vishnu. The good fortune that Lord Brahma, the grandfather of all living entities, is worthy of, yet unable to achieve. Today, these two attained superior good fortune as they obtained the position of topmost Vaishnavas. The extent of Sri Gaur Sundar's mercy has no limit. Through his causeless mercy, he can permanently elevate the most fallen and unqualified persons to the highest platform. We're so fortunate to hear this Chaitanya Bhagavata. It's such an extraordinary literature, and we should hear it quite attentively, not just with eagerness, with desperation, to absorb the meaning and the spirit of these purports. The extent of Sri Gaur Sundar's mercy has no limit. Through his causeless mercy, he can permanently elevate the most fallen and unqualified persons to the highest platform. Okay, we're not even the most fallen and unqualified. We may feel that, but one time when my godbrothers came up to Srila Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen." Oh, and he said, "No, you're not. You're not the most or least of anything. You're simply insignificant." That's what we are, insignificant. When you really analyze the magnificence of this creation, the complexity. Lately, I've been seeing all these studies done by Christian groups to show how intelligent design has to be the cause of the universe, right? Because simple-minded atheistic people will say that, everything is caused by material combination. And this is not a new philosophy. This goes all the way back in Vedic history to Karma Mimamsa, where they can see cause and effect in the material world, but they don't understand it very well. And they think somehow or other that consciousness comes from matter. But when you see the beauty of modern science is that they're going into so much ability to see the detail of creation, the detail of even the most simple cell, the detail of the DNA molecule, which contains the code for operating and creating, any form of life. It's so incredibly complex. And even the complexity of a simple protein, and to make and amino acids, and how far from chance being able to create even a protein, and proteins in so many different combinations are required in all these different elements that create a cell. And all these parts of the cell have to work in complete harmony at once, or the thing doesn't happen. I mean, I'm not going to get into the detail right now, but the fact is, when you look at that, you just become stunned of how amazing this material creation is, and thus how amazing the intelligence that created all of that. I mean, every body is a universe of living entities, of individual cells. Each cell is complex, more complex than any of the most advanced factories that we have today. It's as complex as a city. And we have billions of them. Billions of them are created and die every day. Somehow this whole thing is being created and overseen and maintained and then destroyed. So that same energy is also so powerful, it completely covers the consciousness and awareness of the people in this world and in this universe, thinking that we are this material body, and covers us with desires to find happiness and fulfillment through the body, through the mind, through the aesthetics of the material world, right? But with that, the intelligent person will see so much suffering is going on. This world is such a terrifying, unhappy place every day. So much misery and difficulty in this world, right? And Jagai and Madhai are the example of two personalities who were immersed in the greatest suffering, right? And the greatest sin. They were the most unqualified for devotional activity. And yet they were given it in an instant by the Lord to show us the extent of Sri Gaurasundar's mercy has no limit. Through his causeless mercy, he can permanently elevate the most fallen and unqualified persons to the highest platform, even through a particle of his teachings. See, throughout the world, there are different gradations of religious teachings, right? Different religions in the world, which are codified instructions to the people of this world to try to come in contact with God. But the best of them also emphasize this causeless mercy, unconditional love of the Lord, and even a fragment of that connection and feeling can change somebody's life significantly, right? And so we want to encourage everyone, to whatever extent that they can latch onto and practice religion, to make a connection with God, a genuine service connection with humility, right? So then, Mahaprabhu continues and says, Edui parashaye kodila ganga snan, edon hari bolibe se gangara saman. Those who took bath in the Ganga after being touched by these two will now say that these two are equal to the Ganga. Purport. By touching or seeing these two rogues, the sinful propensities of living entities would awaken. But after receiving the Lord's mercy, the unholy darshan of the two rogues has today become as purifying as the touch of the Ganga, which destroys all sins. Yeah, so that's all about association. Bad association makes you bad. You want to hang out with rogues and thieves, you become a rogue and thief. That's what happened to Jagai and Madhai. Even Banasura, the son of Mother Earth and Lord Varaha, he became a demon by bad association. Right? Some of the sons of Advaita Acharya also, to show us, right? But now, after being granted this mercy of the Lord, anyone who sees these two will become purified just by looking at them. Right? Nityananda pratigya anyatana hi hoy, Nityananda icha ehi janiha nischay. The determination of Nityananda is never baffled. Know for certain that this was the desire of Nityananda. This was the desire of Nityananda. Nityananda broke the dam that held back the free flow of prema all over the world, right? And our gurus are empowered agents of that same Nityananda. And that's why our Srila Prabhupada was declared to be Nityananda Avesh. Any pure devotee is so powerful. But Nityananda Avesh means specifically, completely empowered by Nityananda to do what only Nityananda could do, to give this most rare and wonderful attraction to the service of Radha and Krishna, even in the Western world, which is nothing but Jagai and Madhais. The Western world is all Jagai and Madhais. And where we see the influence of Bhakti being developed, it's by the mercy and desire of Nityananda. And those who try to fulfill that purpose will certainly get that same mercy of Nityananda. Jagai Madhai Sabha Vaishnave Doriya Prabhupada Dira Abhyantare Gela Lanya. Thereafter, all the Vaishnavas caught hold of Jagai and Madhai and took them inside the Lord's house. They were eager to embrace, to hold them. Now you're one of us, right? So Prabhupada explains, considering the two rogues as part of their own group, the Vaishnavas brought them into Sri Gaurasundar's house. Now you're us. You're in our gang, right? You're a part of our gang now. So, Aptagana Sambaila Prabhupada Sahite Padila Kapatakaro Shakti Nahi Yaite. The intimate associates entered along with the Lord. The door was then closed, and others were not allowed to enter. Purport: the phrase Aptagana Sambaila means that the intimate associates of the Lord and the two rogues who were just delivered by the Lord entered the Lord's house. To check the entries of others, the door was closed. Wow. So when you get that experience, that acceptance is there. There's that beautiful example in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita when Gopakumar finally gets to Goloka Vrindavan by the guidance of Narad and Uddhava, and when he's in Dwarka, and then no, you have to be in Vrindavan, he meditates deeply on that with their blessings, and he finds himself at the end of the day, at the time of Goduli, right, when Krishna's bringing back the cows, back to the cow sheds, for milking, and everybody's going to come back and bathe and have the evening program, a little meal, entertainment, all of that going on. But as they're coming back from the forests, Gopakumar finds himself in the field. And in the distance, he sees the dust. He can't see anything else at first, just the dust. But he hears the sound of bugles and horns and flutes and singing. And then slowly, from that dust, the figures of the cowherd boys emerge. And Krishna, he sees Krishna, Balaram, intimate associates. And he's stunned. And then from that distant place, Krishna, also looking across the field, sees Gopakumar. And he's with all his besties, right? All his best friends. But when he sees Gopakumar, he immediately abandons everybody and sprints across the field to meet Gopakumar. And with tears in his eyes, he embraces Gopakumar, who's stunned. And then they both fall to the ground, crying, tears of, and speaking, and crying tears of love. Right? And it's an astonishing sight. The cowherd boys hurry to catch up and see this. What's going on? Who's this? And then they get to this place and they see Krishna rolling with his friend and they say, who's this? Who's this new guy? We don't know him. Why is Krishna, so overjoyed to be with him? I thought we were his best friends, right? But all of a sudden now Gopakumara is on that same level, right? And it's described for the next many days, he and Krishna are inseparable. Wherever Krishna goes, Gopakumara goes, right? And Krishna says to him, oh, where have you been? For so long I've been watching you, wondering when will my dear servant come to me, But you didn't hear. It took you so long because Gopakumara, he had an urgent desire. It had awakened in Vrindavan by the grace of his guru, right, Jayanta. But it took him a long time, even with his best effort, to get there. So many things had to transpire. And then when he's finally there, he's one of them. He's one of them. Right? So now, Jagai and Madhai, they're in that group. In the next verse, Mahaprabhu Vishwambar came in and sat down. Nityananda and Gadadhar sat on either side of him. Advaita, the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy, sat in front of the Lord, and the Vaishnavas sat around the Lord. So, who's there? Panchatattvas there. They're mentioned first. Then, Pundarika Vidyanidhi Prabhu Haridas, Garuda Ramai Srinivasa Gangadas, Vakeshvara Pandit Chandrasekhar Acharya, Esaba Janena Chaitanya Sabakarya. Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Who's that? That is the guru of Gadadhar Pandit, who in Krishna Leela, he's Maharaj Vrishabhanu. Right? Beautiful pastime. Haridas Thakur, Garuda, Ramai, Srinivas, Gangadas, Vakeshvara Pandit, Chandrasekhar Acharya, all knew the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. We hear so many stories about all these personalities. This is the group that they're now part of. Numerous exalted devotees happily sat with Jagai and Madhai around Lord Chaitanya. They weren't thinking, oh, okay, new guy, all right, let them sit over there. They were happy to be with them. There's no difference now. As Jagai and Madhai rolled on the ground, their hair stood on end. They shed tears and their entire bodies shivered. So in other words, devotees, they're overjoyed when somebody gets the mercy of the Lord. They're not envious, they're overjoyed. In this world, when somebody gets success, we get envious. Why is that person getting respect? Why does that person get the corner office? Or whatever it is. From the tiniest thing to the so-called biggest thing, the quality of envy is always there. But now, why are they so happy? Because they know that the Lord loves Jagai and Madhai, gave them this gift, so they love Jagai and Madhai. Right? That's why, when we're in devotional company, amongst us, we have lots of faults, right? All of us have faults. And we get on each other's nerves sometimes, right? Oh, God, here he goes again. I can't stand that guy. But if we change our vision to, this is a god brother, a god sister, or a disciple of this one, that one, and they are doing this nice seva. Oh, how nice. And we just focus on that, then whatever little fault, Srila Prabhupada said, devotees are like white sheets. And even the smallest ink spot will show up on a white sheet. And you could focus on that. Oh, look at that dirty spot. Or you could think, oh, they're so nice. And not really be so concerned with this little fault or that little fault. Gurudev said that he would describe living in a mat being like being a sharp rock in a bag with other sharp rocks. And the sharp rocks, the points and edges are always poking the other rocks. And so, you're always being annoyed by other devotees. He says, but when that bag keeps shaking, gradually, those rocks become smoother and smoother. So if we can tolerate and understand that these sharp points are thus there to teach us tolerance, teach us to look deeper, teach us to have appreciation for devotees, then we become happy. And then the so-called faults and all, it almost becomes a source of humor. Oh, there he goes again. Oh, God, But you don't become bothered by it because well, I've got so many faults too. Look at me. They're tolerating me, right? So I should tolerate them. They're, after all, my brothers, my sisters, my nephews, my uncles, whatever the relationship is spiritually. So, as Jagai and Madhai rolled on the ground, their hair stood on end, they shed tears, and their bodies shivered. Who has the power to understand the desire of Lord Chaitanya, who transformed the two rogues into Mahabhagavats? Purport. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Dev are most grave and incomprehensible to ordinary people. The qualification of Mahabhagavat that a living entity cannot achieve even after favorably serving Hari for many lifetimes was attained by the two unqualified rogues within a moment. Therefore, no one is qualified to understand this power. So that's why it's important for us to read. You read like Madhurya Kadambini, where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur delineates. He's explaining what Rupa Goswami was teaching in Bhakti Samrita Sindhu and other literatures, the gradual progression of bhakti and how it works, what we have to go through, what we have to avoid, offenses, namaparad, all these different things, offending devotees. And then step by step, what it means to come to each stage. And then even coming to Bhav, how that may take many, many more lifetimes even, being born again and again in that stage. How high this ultimate goal is. And then to read about the mercy of Mahaprabhu, to give these two from nothing to that in an instant. This very important pastime. And we're going to continue hearing more about it tomorrow. Again, from this verse 243, who has the power to understand the desire of Lord Chaitanya, who transformed the two rogues into Mahabhagavats. Right. Okay. So we will stop there and save. Oops, wrong place. Yeah, there we go. And we offer our obeisance to our most merciful Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, the dear, dear associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, who've come to give us what Mahaprabhu was giving to Jagai and Madhai. Incalculable mercy and incalculable debt. So, Gaur Premanande, Haribo, Haribo.